It's amazing how much we talk when we are courting, when we are dating. It seems as though we can't talk enough. And in fact, it is talking that causes us to fall in love. Friends love to talk. And the more friends talk, the more they are able to blend, to cohere, and fall in love. Friends talk in the morning when they get up, they call each other. They talk in the midday, they talk at night. My daughter is courting and she talks to her boyfriend all the time. She's on Skype, she's on WhatsApp, she's on video chat, email, you name it. Always chatting, sending a text, talking on the phone. It is amazing that after marriage, many people stop talking. Their communication falls flat. And like I said before, poor communication is at the root of the majority of marital problems. Learning how to talk in a marriage is key to a successful marriage. Keeping the communication going helps so that we are always on the same page. It is so sad that we could be married and yet not understand each other. And so this afternoon, I'd like to share with you a bit on how to fight. Because let's be honest, every marriage has misunderstanding. We have issues that we need to discuss. And because many people have not learned how to fight well in a marriage, resentment grows, alienation grows, and the marriage dies. So in talking about communication, what we are saying is we need to know how to communicate just normally and share, but especially communication becomes important when we are dealing with tricky issues, with delicate issues, with problems in our relationship. First off, I would like to suggest that every marriage should be built on assertiveness. Keep that word in mind. Assertiveness. No, I'm not saying aggressiveness, but assertiveness. What does it mean? An assertive person says what they have to say in a direct manner, in a non-threatening manner. And it makes clear, they make clear what their desires are, what their intentions are, so there's no misunderstanding. In far too many situations, we don't say what we are feeling. We don't say what we want. And somehow we expect the other person to guess, to find out by magic, I guess. Well, if he loves me, he should know what I want. If she loves me, she should know. And I must confess here, women tend to be perhaps the greatest offenders in this guess what I mean situation. I'm not going to tell you. You just figure it out. Well, guess what? He can't figure it out. Most of us can't figure out what the other person is thinking. We may read your body language and tell ourselves something isn't right, but we really don't know what you want, except you say it. So being assertive means I will tell you up front, in a non-threatening manner, in a non-threatening environment, but very directly what I desire and what I don't desire. So, if I'd like to go visit my mother, I won't dance around and play around. I would say, no, sweetheart, I would really like to go visit my mother this weekend because I haven't seen her for a while and I would just like to go spend a few hours with her. You see, straightforward, direct, so the person knows. Hey, sweetheart, the guys, we plan to go play soccer this Sunday from 10 to 2. And I would like to go to guys and hang out, straightforward. That's assertive. In sex even, there are many couples for years have had sexual relationships and think they're doing it right and not know they're not doing it right because they're not talking, they're faking. You should say to your husband, I prefer this way, I prefer that way. Tell your wife, I like this or I like that. Assertiveness means I am telling you what I want in a direct manner, without dancing around, without parables, in a non-threatening manner, and in a non-threatening environment. So you know this is not an attack. It is simply me knowing what you're thinking. So remember, assertiveness is key. But then, active listening. Far too many times, when we speak, we assume that we know what the other one is saying, or that they understood what we are saying. And we have all had situations where you said something, and the other person interpreted it wrongly. Active listening says when my partner is speaking to me, I feed back to them what I am understanding by what you're saying. So she says, yesterday afternoon I came home and I didn't find you at home. I was really upset because you had promised to be here when I come home so that we can go to the bank together. Now you heard those words. You say, am I hearing you say that you expected me to be home at 3 o'clock when you came home? And she would said, yes, that's what I'm saying. So now you know that you're on the same page. Because there are many times one partner will say something and the other one thinks it is something else, and the argument goes on only to realize we were talking like this, parallel. Active listening says, I will always feed back to the person what I heard them say so that they can either correct me if I was wrong or affirm what I'm saying. At first it feels awkward, like you're echoing the person, like, hey, are you an echo? No. After a while you get the hang of it and realize it saves a lot of misunderstanding. Many relationships have benefited from active listening because if I'm not reading you correctly, if what I'm hearing is not what you're saying, there will be misunderstanding. There will be fighting. There will be disharmony. And sometimes it's a very simple thing that could have been solved very easily. So remember, be assertive, direct, say what you want to say. And also be active in listening. Am I hearing you correctly? Is this what you are really telling me? And then the person says, yes, that is exactly what I'm telling you. Or, no, I didn't mean that. I meant this. That helps a lot. So we are normally going about, we are talking, we are laughing, we are communicating. Incidentally, in a marriage, you need to keep laughter and just chatting. Like, how was your day? That chat that you did before marriage, it keeps things going. But I'm talking about when you want to just discuss your marriage, how things are going, what a relationship is developing, the children, etc. You use active listening, you use assertiveness. But let us suppose we have a fight. There's been a misunderstanding. This now is key. Because if we don't fight well in a marriage, then we fight dirty. Then there are hard feelings, there are hurt feelings. Resentment comes up. Then I need to get my revenge over you. Then we spend 2, 3, 4, 5 days without talking. Or we talk, but underneath there's this current of, you hurt my feelings. So let us decide how are we going to fight well. So that at the end of the fight, we can hug each other and still be husband and wife. Number 1, take the high road. After all, you're on the same team. We are on the same team. We are on the same boat. We are on the same branch. And like I tell people, you don't cut off the branch that you're sitting on. So if you could keep that in mind, that we're on the same team, then we are supposed to be pulling together, not against each other. We are fighting together, not against each other. Now, because we are on the same team, I need to give you the benefit of the doubt. Do you know how many times people don't give each other the benefit of the doubt? In other words, if you say it's A, because I love you, because I trust you, because this is our marriage, I accept that it is A. And by the same token, assign the best motive to each other's actions. Think about it. If a man loves you, will he deliberately hurt your feelings? If a woman loves you, will she deliberately hurt your feelings? So you assigned the best motives to the person's action. I know you meant well. Let me give you an example, an embarrassing personal example. One day I was driving home and there was this man at the side of the road selling roses. And I saw this one red rose that I thought, this is such a beautiful rose. I want to buy this for my lovely Cynthia. So with all the love in my heart, I bought this rose and I was so excited to take the rose home. So, forgive me for laughing. But when I got home, I said, sweetheart, I bought you this rose. She looked at me and said, you cheapskate, you're going to buy me one rose? And no matter what I said, she wouldn't accept that I really was just being special. I bought this one special rose just for her. It took a long while for me explaining, no, sweetheart, I really bought you this rose, not because I'm cheap, but because I wanted you to be the one special person, and I bought this one special rose. We laugh about it now, but I was hurt then. I was hurt because she didn't assign the best motive to my action. But then you use I statements. You know what I mean? Not I statement, but I. A lot of times we say things like, you are never on time. You know? You hurt my feelings. You knew I didn't like that and you did it. We are always assigning motives to others and telling them what they did. No. Speak for yourself. In marriage, if you say you did this, you are attacking me, so I defend myself. But if you say, you know, when I came home this evening and saw the dishes in the sink, I felt upset because I felt no, I would have to go wash these dishes after having been out all day long. I was hoping that perhaps you would have washed it for me. Notice, I'm not telling you that you're lazy, that you don't care about me. I'm simply telling you how I felt when I found the dishes unwashed. Some people use I statements to disguise you statement, meaning like, you know, I felt disappointed because you didn't or you did. Notice, that's not what I'm saying. Genuinely tell the person how you feel about the situation, because guess what? He may not have noticed the dishes in the sink. If he's anything like me, he probably really didn't notice it. Right? And sometimes you need to tell him. In assigning the best motives to the other person's actions, you take responsibility for your own feelings. This is how I felt about the situation. Some of us really are not as attentive as we should be. So use I statements. Plan ahead for your discussion. Some people think we should just be spontaneous. Sometimes, yes, but if there's an issue that's really burning, your husband decided he was gonna just buy a brand new sports car, and you have 3 children who after them will be packed up in the back of a coupe, and you're really upset. This is nothing to start crawling and making a lot of noise. No, plan your discussion. Say, you know, honey, I would like us to talk about the issue of the car. I think there's a few things we need to discuss. So can we talk on Friday? Or when will you be free that we could talk about it? By planning ahead, it does many things. Number one, you're not attacking the person. You're not catching them off guard. They're prepared for it. Number two, it gives you both time to examine your motives, your actions, your arguments, to decide how you're going to approach this. And it allows you that freedom to find a place and time for it, because nothing is as discouraging or as counterproductive as you're beginning a serious conversation and somebody walks in, the phone rings, there's something you have to do or the other person has to do while you're in mid-sentence. Hey, I have to run because I have this to do. You see what I mean? So if you plan it, you could carve out that time so you can discuss your issue. Plan ahead. A little commercial here. Sex is good if you plan it as well. And you're thinking we are talking about fighting, but guess what? I thought I should put this in here. Some people think sex should always be spontaneous, like you see in the movies. Oh, I'm just burning with passion. Let's do it right here now. And that's good too. But I think it helps too if you could plan your love making. You know, Thursday night, we are good for Thursday night? Okay. So she can plan and get herself all ready and not be tired and tell headache to go away for Thursday night, and you could be ready. Sometimes you have to even plan your sex. I think it's a good thing people could plan when they're going to have sexual relationship and allow those spontaneous moments to happen. But if you don't plan and if you're not intentional, then it may never happen. Similarly with talking and discussing issues. If you don't plan for it, sometimes it never happens. I need to talk to my husband about this. But one day passes into 2 days. He's thinking, I need to talk to my wife about this. But then 1 day goes, 2 days goes, things happen, and 2 weeks pass by and you didn't discuss it. And in the meantime, resentment is building up and anger is building up. So plan your discussion. So we have planned our discussion. We are going to talk on Thursday night at 7 p.m. We're going to go for a ride in the car, eat an ice cream, and then go to a nice place and talk. So now here we are, ready to talk. How do we go about discussing issues and pain? Number one, don't be a historian. There are some people, they love to bring up the past. You see, last year did the same thing. And 2 years ago, I remember you did something similar. And they begin to bring a whole list of all that happened in the past. That doesn't help. That's like attacking the person. It is living in the past, especially if you have already moved on. If you discuss that issue and moved on, you shouldn't bring it back up. In fact, that is why you need to talk and you need to forgive. Because if we discuss this issue today and we decided, okay, I'm sorry, this will not happen again, there should be no need to bring that up again. It is in the past. So don't be a historian. Because what that does, it brings up old hurts. And a person feels betrayed because we spoke about that. I told you I was sorry. We left it in the past. We made up for that. Why are you bringing this up 2 years later? Don't be a historian. Also, don't keep score of what you have done. Look at all I've done for this relationship. All the sacrifices I've made. Don't keep score. Marriage is both of us. Whatever I do is for both of us. And some people say, well, it's 50-50. No, marriage is not 50-50. Marriage is 100 plus 100 equals 100. In other words, I give the best that I have and you give the best that you have. Because if it's 50-50, who determines how much is 50? Not only that, there are times when all that I have is just 20% of what is needed to solve the problem. Sometimes all that I have might be 80%. Marriage is an ebb and flow. Sometimes I take the lead, sometimes you take the lead. Sometimes I give more, sometimes you give more. It is not about keeping score. It is about us growing together. It's me giving the best that I have and you giving the best that you have. So in a relationship, when you're discussing issues, don't keep score of all that you have done, all you've suffered, all you have sacrificed. No. Deal with the issue at hand. And don't let other things crowd the discussion. If we are talking about the fact that you're not dealing well with the children, with their discipline, let's keep it with the children and the discipline. Don't bring in the mother-in-law and the father-in-law unless it directly relates to the situation. So, we found a place, we have planned our schedule, and we found a place and a time to talk. We have already acknowledged we are not going to be historians. We're going to deal with what we have to deal with today and leave all the other issues that we dealt with in the past in the past. We have already decided in our minds we will not keep score. We're not going to try to show who has done more and sacrificed more for the relationship. That's not the issue. What we are dealing with is this problem. So now we are going to discuss just this problem that is the cause of this discussion. Be nice. I know it sounds strange, but be nice. Don't dig. Don't look for a fight. This is not a fight. It's a discussion, a negotiation. Don't dig words. Don't try to be spiteful. Be nice. Find the best words, the best way to say it. Because like I said before, in a marriage, if we are not both winning, we are both losing. Also, don't argue when you're feeling down or irritable, depressed. That is probably the worst time to have a discussion about a delicate situation while you're still feeling angry and hurt. If you're feeling sick, maybe you have the flu, put it off. In my 31 years of marriage, I don't think I've ever had a discussion with my wife when I was feeling upset. In fact, I've even told my daughter, number one, do you want to know if you should even discuss an issue? Give it a day or two. Because a lot of times what you feel today, like, I'm through with this marriage, I'm so angry with what you did. 2 days pass by, you can't even remember. Or you think about it and it doesn't bring up the same feeling. Now imagine if you had spoken to your husband or your wife with all that passion and emotion of 2 days ago, you might have said some very hurtful things. So I tell my daughter, as she's looking forward to her own relationship and marriage coming up, sometimes give it a day. If it's on your mind and you sleep and you get up and it's there and it's digging you, after 2-3 days you still feel that I need to deal with this thing, then deal with it. Otherwise, let it go. Let it go. But one thing, never quarrel while you're angry, because then you can't think straight. You're going to be saying angry words and you'll never get to the issue at hand. So be nice and don't argue when you're feeling down or anything like that. Don't use the children as leverage. Please. In other words, don't fight in their presence. Number one. And as they grow older, don't bring them into the argument. Johnny, isn't it true that mommy, didn't daddy come home late last night? And Johnny, then don't do that to children. Don't use children as leverage. Don't try to use their sympathy to break down the other one. Don't try to use their love to break down the other one. Keep children out of your arguments. When my wife and I celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary, my daughter planned it all. And my son was he was the father giver. Imagine that, my son was the father giver. Anyway, when he was giving a speech, and his sisters were giving their speech, in the wedding ceremony, he said, we thought that mommy and daddy never fought. We thought that their relationship was so harmonious, we thought they never fought. We never saw them fight. They never even say a harsh word in front of us. It is only now that we are adults we recognize that they did fight, because my son is now married. And he realized, hey, if I sometimes have a fight with my wife, surely mommy and daddy had a fight. And I felt happy about that. You know why I felt happy about that? It means we protected our children from disharmony, from that insecurity that comes when they see mommy and daddy fighting and they're not sure if their home is going to last. They always saw me treat their mom with love, and they always saw my mom their moms treat me with love. She never ever spoke to me angrily in their presence. If we had anything to deal with, we would do that in the bedroom. And we protected their innocent minds. And we dealt with our situation. I must say that as they grew old and they are adults, Cynthia and I decided we will let them see us fight sometime. Because they need to know that no marriage is going to go on a free ride or a fight. So sometimes if you're driving and I make a bad drive, she would say, Matt, are you blind? Didn't you see that car? And I say, well, leave me alone, woman, don't harass me. And they laugh now, my children, when they see us fighting, because they know it's all well. They know this relationship is so solid, and we do it deliberately so that they can see how two people in love, two mature people handle a disagreement and can move on from that. So be nice. Don't argue. Don't use the children as leverage. Don't fight in their presence. And don't try to elicit from them your support for your argument. Let you and your husband, you and your wife deal with it. This is important now. We are discussing the issue. And somehow we can't seem to see eye to eye. We've been going around this mountain time after time, and we can't seem to resolve the situation. When that happens, when you're saying the same things over and over, when emotions are getting high and we can't seem to be making headway, take a time out. Call a time out. In other words, sweetheart, right now I think I'm not really hearing you as I need to. Could we take an hour or 2 hours and come back at this? I need some time just to calm my spirit down and to think more clearly of what you have told me and what I have mentioned to you. Now, in taking a time out, you need to come back. So if you say our time out is 1 hour, come back at 1 hour. If you say, let's do this tomorrow, come back tomorrow. A timeout is not an escape from the argument. It's a time to cool down. And during that timeout, think about what she has been saying. Reflect on what has been said, what you said, what she said. In other words, this is a moment for you to take time and truly listen to what your spouse was saying as you run that DVD in your brain of the argument, the discussion. So that when you come back, You can come in a calm way, having considered what she or he said, even what you wanted to say. Timeouts are a great tool for argument because they keep us from really going overboard. And finally, with all I've said, it boils down to this. Every husband and wife has to decide on the rules of engagement in their marriage and then stick to it. Like a budget, you stick to it. You know, when you join the army, the military, and you go to fight, there are what are called rules of engagement. How do you fight the enemy? That is why you hear about war crimes and stuff like that, because every soldier has as well guidelines as to how he should fight within a parameter. It should be the same in marriage. So all of we said about how you should go about communicating and fighting, this is like rules of engagement. But every couple may want to tweak these principles to suit you best. But the point is this, you must both decide this. Like for instance, you say timeout. If we have never talked about timeout before, it would be a shock to me, and it would seem like you're shutting me down if in the middle of what I'm saying you say, look, I think we need a timeout, or you need a timeout. What timeout? Since when do I need a timeout? But if you have decided beforehand, you know, if the argument gets too hot and too volatile, we're going to take a timeout, then I know and you know, so we can remind each other. Every couple needs to sit down and decide how they will fight. I have shared with you some principles that have worked for many couples in the past. It has worked for me, and I'm sure it can work for you if you work it. And you need to do the same thing. Because conflict in a marriage could be a horrible thing, but I have found out, and many long-lasting couples have found out, conflicts can be one of the best things in a marriage because it challenges us to grow. A lot of times after the argument has cleared, we can see clearer. Like after the rain has fallen, it washes the air. After the argument, there's that makeup that comes, and now we have solved that issue. So we don't have to deal with that again because we have solved it. So conflicts can be a means of growing in a relationship, but you will only grow in the relationship if the conflict is handled adequately, if it is handled constructively, if it is handled as a team rather than as enemies. So remember, fighting is okay in a marriage, but you got to learn to fight well.